hypes me up every morning because I'm like, I'm a little bit la 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 la, a little bit Alexis. So I'm Alexis for about 2 minutes every day.
I love it.
That's how it goes over here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of So Basically Podcast. This is episode 8 with my awesome co-host,
Cabrona Logic.
And your other co-host, me, the Black Maria. We do have an awesome guest for our show today. She's pretty dope. But before we get into that, we do want to go ahead and do an icebreaker, and this is also going to include our guests as well, too. So you'll hear their voice before you know who they are. Yes. So I have a question for both of y'all, just to see, how you're feeling, what's your thoughts on it. The question is, what is one song you can listen to all day, every day, for the rest of your life?
Our guest.
Yes.
I have a song. So first of all, everybody should know I'm a Beyonce stan in my life. Beyonce's literally family. So I feel like we have the same tastes. So I feel really compelled to support my family and their family members. But a song that I really think is like super poetic and uplifting is I Got the Keys by Jay-Z. There were just lyrics in there where he just talks about, like, for example, he'll say, like, the key to life is to keep a bag coming every other day, a new bag coming. And it's like, the key to life is to make sure money is stable. So just little gems like that, I can totally get with, like, this is poetry and I'm here for it. So yeah, I can listen to that every day and be ready to go.
I love that. And I need some inspiration. I'm a lyrics person as well. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm gonna have to go listen to that. But I did a whole Instagram story takeover on our page and was asked about music, and I exposed myself in saying how I don't listen to a lot of music, but I'm trying to get back into it. I'm the type of person that I can't fan over a lot of things or a lot of people. So with artists, there's like one song and I'm like, I love the song. I'm a jam for the song. But I also take like one song at a time. It's so weird. My answer right now, I told Maria about this artist. I've been listening to this artist called Scary Pool Party.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, so he was actually on American Idol and went on American Idol as Alejandro Aranda, I believe, or something like that. But now they go by Scary Pool Party. They're singer-songwriter, play their own instruments, write their own music. And there's this song that I've been vibing with right now that's called Cholo Love. And it's just like a jazzy, but then he remixed it with like a little EDM song.
Okay.
And it's just like a little, just like a little sweet little love song. Like,
okay.
Yeah, just trying to be with you kind of thing. So I got into that vibe and into the music and the arrangement he did to that song because he has 3 versions of it on Spotify. All of them are amazing.
Oh, I'm Scary Pool Party. Okay, I gotta see what's up with that.
Also, just to include with that, because Gabby did show me this song and the artist, and they're from Pomona, and I just feel like, yes. And their name sounds really familiar, and I'm pretty sure, like, I've seen the face. I'm like, I feel like we might know them. Just a heads up, okay? But the song is pretty awesome.
Okay, yes.
And you have to tell them like how they auditioned with their original song, and they also went through the whole competition with their original music. They
almost the entire season they did.
They were like, music. I know your music, I know what I can do, but I'm gonna do mine.
For sure. You're gonna check that one out. I'll show you. I'll drop the link in the chat.
All right. You're in high school with them. I want to know who this is.
I don't. Well, I think they're in their early 20s, but they're
somewhere in between.
Too familiar. Yeah, okay. Their face looks too familiar. When I was like, I think I know them.
She really did. She was like, wait,
I've seen you.
Wait,
I've seen your face.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. What about you, Maria? What song gets you pumped?
Okay, so I'm cheating. I'm doing 2, but one's new though. One is really new, and actually both are new. But there's one song called "The Manifestation" by Kristen Tibbs, or Teeb, excuse me, Teeb, because it's T-E-B. But It's literally, it's like maybe five sentences, and it says I wake up in the day feeling good. I wake up in the day feeling good. Everything is as it should be. Like just like little affirmations, basically. And I play that every morning. And I started doing that maybe about 2-3 weeks ago. So it's just like my reminder, like everything will be as it should be. Things will flow as necessary, as needed. And it's just kind of like a calm way to start the day. And then also, if anyone is a Schitt's Creek fan, the TV show, like I am, there's a song called A Little Bit Alexis. And that is my song. It is just like everybody has a Lamborghini, everybody has a yacht. Like, it's just so dramatic and funny, but it hypes me up every morning because I'm like, I'm a little bit la 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 la, a little bit Alexis. So I'm Alexis for about 2 minutes every day.
I love it.
That's how it goes over here.
Yes. I feel like somebody was talking, I don't know if it was with you on a different call, but we were talking about that song.
Yes, it was. I'm telling everybody that song until they get with it. So
a little bit of Alexis. Okay.
Yes. Nice. Yes. Okay, so if you're dying to know who our guest is, if you don't know the voice by now, if you don't know who it is by
then
now,
you're playing.
You're playing yourself. They gave you hints. They gave you clues to who they were. But Gabby, do you want to do the official introduction to our guest for today's show?
Yes, absolutely. So we have with us today Melissa Muganzo-Murphy. They are the CEO of Muganzo Entertainment and Investments, Inc., and the executive director and founder of the Muganzo Experience. Melissa Muganzo-Murphy is an entertainer, cultural curator, and investor and philanthropist. She believes in the power of social media, has to liberate, and has dedicated her life to creating change through the arts. Melissa serves as the executive director and founder of the Muganzo Experience and is the CEO of Muganzo Entertainment and Investments. Visit her website at www.muganzoentertainment.com and follow her on social media. She'll be dropping her handles at the end of our episode, so please feel free, give them a follow. Without further ado, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to So Basically, Melissa Muganzo-Murphy.
What's up, y'all? What's up, everybody? Melissa Muganzo-Murphy, pronouns she, they, and sis, and super juiced to be sharing space with y'all on this platform. Thank you so much. Y'all have been really, really coming for folks next with this podcast. And I appreciate it because it's time to be bold and brave in our approach about making change in the world. I listen to it when I work out. I listen to it when I'm in the shower. I listen to it when I'm on a drive. So I'm here for all of it. So thank you so much.
Yes, always super supportive, and I love that. I also just want to add in another part to Melissa's bio. She's also a goddess that ascended from the heavens to the soul body that she is now. That, you know, I've been blessed to call her, you know, my sister, but she's definitely a blessing from above. I just want so people know that.
Thank you. Thank you. I do tell people I'm from heaven and I'm only here for a short while, right? I've been given this body to be able to exist in, but I am from up above. Yes.
Right. So people know.
just so they know. They know. Yes. No, we are so excited. I think we knew from the beginning that we wanted to have you on our podcast. Super validating to hear that our shit talking is being received well.
It is. It is. I love it. All of your guests have been fantastic, and I love it. I love it.
Yay. Well, we get to add you to the list, so I'm so excited. We're going to be doing some amazing conversations today. Maria, you want to introduce our topics in our segment?
Yes. So we had to bring on the amazing Melissa Muganzo-Murphy, M to Third Power, for the topic of today, which is just authenticity. Authenticity in our everyday life, but also in the workplace as well, too. And then also touching into how to really utilize your gifts and monetize them. Okay. The coin, the bag, securing the bag, because as Melissa said, we have the keys. I got the keys, you have the keys, we all have the keys. So we're going to be getting a little bit into that first, but we're going to do a really quick check-in just with everyone to kind of see how you feel right now. And for our guests in particular, how is your year treating you so far?
So yeah, this year I turned 33. It's been my Jesus year, which means it could be all good or it's all going to be fucked up. So I've been
choosing. Okay.
Hey, at least we know.
And listen, I'm turning it all the way up. So it's like Vegas or bust, right? And it's really activated me to say this phrase that I use every day called all gas, right? And some years it's the years of rest, some years it's the years of no. But for me, this year, it's the year of yes and moving 100 miles an hour down the freeway, not worried about traffic, not worried about accidents, just going with the destination in mind. And that mindset from my birthday, Capricorn status December 30th, has really made me leap into the year with full confidence and not worried about the chitter chatter or the noise. So this year for me has been amazing. It has been life-changing, and it's only March. So I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm so ready for what this year has to offer me, because I really have been doing a lot of investing in myself and what I have to offer, monetizing my contribution, which we'll definitely get into, and learning how to say yes to me. And as long as I say yes to me, that's all that I need to move forward, because I have everything inside of me to make things crack. So yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I feel like I already know how this is going to be. Like one of those episodes where at the end our guest speaks and we're like, uh-huh. Do you want to ask the next question?
Can you repeat that for the folks at home, just in case they missed what was said?
No, I love that. I absolutely love that. I think we talked about this one of our first few episodes with the pandemic and with time just kind of losing really relevancy and consistent. Like, it's just, who knows what time is anymore. I think either people who were not slowing down were forced to slow down, and people who maybe weren't going full on were like, well, this is it, right? Like, the time is now. So yes, I love that. I love to hear that.
Well, Gabby, how are you feeling? I know we just finished our live episode last week. Our first of hopefully many in the future. So, how do you feel since then? It's been almost a week.
Oh yeah, since our last episode, that day it was a rush. It was a rush. I think immediately after we hung up the call, because we weren't the host of the Zoom call. We both started FaceTiming each other, so our call wasn't going in. I think I've been just super grateful for the impact that I think our platform appears to be making with the people around us and the people that are so close to us and that we care about. With doing something like speaking for a different chapter of our organization, and to know one that, like, they're listeners, so they knew what they were like asking for, and they knew why they wanted us to be there, and they also trusted us to have a conversation just like in a different place with a completely different culture and different view of queerness and allyship. And then for them to say it at the end, like, by the way, like, y'all really bringing some California energy to Wisconsin.
Yes,
and
for sure.
that was super validating. I definitely relate to this feeling of like, there's no room for self-doubt. I've been doing a lot of personal development, and also just like internally unpacking the barriers that have prevented me from like just fully believing in myself and in my skills and in my gifts, and realizing that the things that I can do very well, not everybody can do very well. And that has been like a whole trajectory for me. So
we talked about this.
yes, we did. It's just, there's just so many, we can call it so many things, right? We can call it imposter syndrome, we can call it whatever. It's really, it's just so much deeper than that when you are on the side of the people who live that, not who just like study it or analyze it, So just really having to come to terms with like, yeah, not everybody can, write emails as well, or write proposals that well, or write statements that well. Like, and to me, I'm like, I'm doing my job. Like, this year it's fully the year of me embracing of like, no, I am good at what I do, and this is what I know I can do, and being able to identify those, and just trying to focus on getting rid of that doubt, and honing in my skills, continue to grow my skills, continue to like challenge myself in that way, but also just like so excited to be doing this podcast. We released it very late 2020, so to us it's been like a new year thing, to have this project, and it's just so liberating. I think I'm on a high right now from last week and from everything that we've been doing. So I'm super excited. Yeah.
Me too. I feel like it's really awesome to see it, because knowing that literally a year ago was something that we written down, or like a year and a month ago, we wrote down during our national convention for our sorority. Like, there was just something that we wanted to do. Didn't know how it was going to come about.
No idea.
Didn't know anything. We just write the idea after idea after idea.
All we like 25 topics.
Yeah, all we knew is our initial launch day was going to be our birthday because we have the same birthday. That was the only thing we knew for sure. We're like, you're going to know about this on our birthday for sure. Everything else we don't know, but what you're going to see is this on your on social media one way or another. So that was that's really exciting to see it kind of come through fruition and see it happen. I really need to find my note and put that on I need to put that on or something else like that. I think so far for me too, I was really excited to actually get good feedback just from the event overall, because I was really nervous, especially since we're doing like an episode for us. And, you know, if there are a few people that haven't listened in before, they don't really know what they're getting in for. And then honestly, people respecting the space that was created. That was really exciting to see. And then also just seeing people relate to stuff. I saw a lot of people like nodding their heads or just getting the reactions from the reaction board. It was really, really funny. And seeing people laugh at certain parts where we would typically laugh at. So it kind of seemed that there was still this connection, even though we're across country, you know, different time zones, you know, different backgrounds, things of that sort. We all were still able to connect when it comes to a topic like this, and people kind of get a new understanding when it comes to allyship was really cool too as well. And I'm excited as well because I've been doing my 75-day challenge and I have 7 more days, y'all. 7 more days. No alcohol, no fast food, no eating out. So it's been a journey and I'm excited. I thought I was gonna go buck wild after it was over. I was really like, oh yeah, I'm about to have drinks on drinks on drinks. I want to eat out every day. And now I just really just want a glass of wine. And I just want to not work out for one morning. That's honestly,
just
that's
one rest day.
At this point. Yeah, that's all I want. Also, I just want to make sure, are we hydrated today? I'm doing a hydration check.
Oh, you're pissed. You're going to be so mad. You're going to be so mad. I mean, wait, let me clarify. Hydrated with what?
With water.
Oh, yeah, you're pissed. You're going to be so pissed. I just wanted to clarify first, but yes, you're pissed.
Because these are the 2 people, for those that listen, these are the 2 people that I check on the most when it comes to hydration. One, because Gabby does not like to drink water as much. And, but she's improved so much since I've known her. I will say that. I got to give her that. Same for Melissa as well, too. I've really seen the growth in your consumption of water. And I just want to acknowledge that and give you that, you know, credibility that you have been doing amazing.
Thank you.
But so just work on that after this, because now
just not today though.
In this conversation. Okay.
There's a lot of judgment and I'm just working through it. Yes, most definitely. Most definitely.
Let's just really get into what we feel like as ourselves, 100% ourselves. Would you say our authenticity? You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
I'm really trying. I'm out here working through.
Working through the outline.
Right. But I definitely want to get into talking about authenticity, because I feel like Melissa not only knows her stuff, but can literally, let me switch that up. She walks the talk. She talks the walk.
Thanks.
Yeah. I just really feel like, you know? Okay. So before, I don't know if I wanted to use that one, but I'll go ahead and go over to you, Melissa. What does authenticity mean to you?
Yeah, it means showing up unafraid. Showing up unafraid in a world that has taught you that you're not right anyway. Your hair, your skin, your personality, your voice, your style. When you're just not felt that you're in the right space ever, showing up as yourself is really brave. And so showing up as your full self, unafraid, to me is authentic.
Once again, just everyone listening, please get ready to have your notes, pens, and pads ready, because she's going to be dropping gems the entire time.
I'm like, can I record this? Oh, we're recording.
I see what you did there.
You know? I'm like, this needs to live somewhere. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
There's so many people that, and this is something too, like sometimes people are their authentic selves, but they're still fearful.
Yeah.
They're still fearful, right? So they're there, but they're not walking in confidence. They're not walking in truth and power because they're still leaving themselves open to be rejected. And
Mm-hmm.
so being authentic and also walking in purpose and living without fear is the true sense of authenticity, right? Like I'm not leaving myself open for you to tell me that I'm not good enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not brave enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not professional enough because I'm not waiting for your judgment to affirm what I'm doing over here.
Yeah.
Definitely. I wanted to also just add into like, I love since we started doing like dictionary definitions. I just went to really quick, like dictionary.com, nothing serious, but
Yeah.
you know,
We cite Wikipedia around here.
yeah, I mean, because first of
It
all, Wikipedia,
got us all through.
that's what we said.
That's literally what we said.
We're like, Wiki has saved our lives plenty of times
Exactly.
in academic settings. So, but that's a really good definition for allyship. So we use that for our live episode. But when it came to authentic, some of the different parts of the definition, they have not false or copied, genuine or real, having an origin supported by unquestionable evidence. And then also, I thought that was really cool. Representing one's true nature or beliefs, true to oneself or to the person identified. So I would just, just to add that in there as well too, because we're gonna get on into it. But Gabby as well too, what does authentic mean to you?
Yeah, I struggle with enacting authenticity because I think I have an idea of what it means to me and what I want it to be, right? Very much the unapologetic embrace of who you are, of what makes you unique, of what makes you stand out from others, of just what makes you you, right? I think my challenge comes with accepting that for myself. I very much, when I think about authenticity, I can't help but think about it being something that I haven't reached a point in my life where I'm comfortable doing everywhere I go. There are certain spaces where I'm really comfortable being my full authentic self. And then there are other spaces that I navigate where I feel like a fraud, or not a fraud, but like I switch it up. And that I can't help but think about that when I think about authenticity, not just the act of like being you and saying and showing up in who you truly are and what truly makes you feel comfortable and confident and good about yourself, but then also there's like added layer of like I think it also means the fear piece that you spoke to, Melissa, of like you're gonna do it everywhere, not just in certain spaces. I think up to this point for me, it has been restricted to the spaces in which I feel comfortable. But yeah, that's what I think about in the ongoing journey of like reaching that place.
And I can see that because the other piece of authenticity too is not everybody's going to get the same authentic you, right? Not everybody deserves that, is going to get that. There's a comfort level and a safety level that takes place just underneath authenticity that is really dependent on the location of where you're in. So with the way you kick it with your friends, I'm sure you're not doing that with your neighbor, right? Yeah. You're like, my neighbor doesn't get this, right? Because there's a layer of which I can be myself with my friends that gives me a lot more safety than my neighbor. And the same could be said at work, right? My boss is not going to get with me and my coworker. I can't shit talk with my boss. I'm got an evaluation.
I'm like, I do.
And I'm sure that's even layered too. Like I can shit talk, but like you probably call Maria on some other stuff. Right? Then you with your supervisor. So it's like there's layers to it, right? And you're still being authentic in yourself, right? You're still being you, but there's additional pieces that are also risk takers that you have to calculate in your mind, like what layer of my authentic self am I able to comfortably share without jeopardizing my life and my comfortability, right? Because you have this livelihood that you're trying to maintain. And I think that's where people start to self-judge. Like, oh, I'm not authentic at work enough. No, you are, but it's work. Like how authentic? Are you trying to be at the function at work? Like what are you trying to do, right? Or the way you kick it with friends and family versus you do coworkers, right? There's just a different relationship there. So we'll talk about what all that is, but people do tend to self-judge depending on the location. But in reality, as long as you're being true to yourself, you're authentic. And then we'll talk about like safety and location and what that means.
Yeah. No, that's real. For sure.
Yeah, I do want to say the first question is, how's your journey been through navigating being authentic at work in the workplace, especially working in higher education or higher academia?
So just to give you the folks listening a background to all that I do. So I run an entertainment company. When you're the boss, you do whatever you want. So
Right.
I feel 100% safe in that space. And even being on the supervisor role, having part-time staff, I still show up as myself, but I know that my staff is not going to be as authentic with me, right, as they would with each other and with their friends, right? Because there's positionality that's in play, right? Like we can only kiki haha so much until you run me my check, right? So
Yeah.
so it's just layered, right? Even if I'm trying to be, trying to make it safe for them, they're only going to give me what they feel is comfortable for them, and I can't let that make me feel like I'm not doing my part. So there's that. But I think in an institution or an organization that has historical practices of white supremacy, right, and the abuse of labor of folks of color, queer folks of color, trans folks of color, my level to which I became comfortable at work has been a definite journey. In that where we are in the social movement is not where we were 5 years ago. It's definitely not where we were 10 years ago. And y'all know for sure, definitely past that. So my ability to show up at work now is completely different. So first starters, did in undergrad, which is 2006, 2011, I was still doing student assistant work, which for me is still professional work because the labor that student assistants do is professional work.
You can say that one more time because I can't
Okay.
put that on my resume, but come on.
Yes, and I think you should. I tell all of my students, like, this is your professional work. Any job that you've had prior to college is professional work. All of it is your career. So we would say, oh, when you get your first job, it's like, I was 9. I'm gonna put that on there, right? I was working at 9.
Right.
But I remember thinking like, I have to assume this white sense of professionalism at work. And so my authenticity, I was only able to do that through my hair. I was only able to showcase that through my hair. So weaves, wigs, braids, locks, right? That's the only I can show like, hey, this is how I stay in tune. But I'm also trying to, climb this social ladder, this career ladder. And what I see based on who's at the top doesn't look like me, doesn't sound like me, doesn't come from backgrounds like me. So I'm only limited in the way in which I know to be a safe route, right? But then you get to this place, and I say that happened probably mid career in my higher ed academic training, where it was like the top wasn't meant for me. In this organizational structure and system, the top wasn't meant for me. And even if I were to assume it, there's a structure that is not meant for me to exist to feel safe, right? So I need to ask myself, am I trying to get to the top? What is the top for me? And do I feel like I would be stifled or suffocated when I got there? And that's when I realized if I don't start showing up as my true self in the way that I felt comfortable at work, my students that I serve at the time will continue this psychological cycle of I have to assume whiteness to be great and be professional. And that shit is played out. Yeah. So I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because y'all are either going to respect me or you're not, regardless of what I wear. You're going to respect me or not, regardless of the credentials I have. You're going to respect me or not, whether I paint my nails, whether I have piercings, whether I have tats. You're going to respect me or not, period. You're going to pay me or not pay me. And I don't want to get paid to not be me, because then I would be fraudulent at work. And so that's when I realized I had to show up. And when I started showing up as myself, meaning like, keep my same tone, keep my same pitch, keep my same vernacular, right? The way in which I talk truly, keep my same sense of style. It's when students start to say, wow, you work here? I didn't know you could be this way and still get a job. And it's like, if that's all it took for you to know that you could see yourself in another person and still deem them as educational and intelligent and professional, then that's all that I needed. That's all that I needed. And I will continue to push people to be themselves, because guess what? They could literally say they like you and not respect you. They can say they respect you but not pay you. They can pay you and still shit on you. So you have to be yourself at work. You have to be yourself at work, right? Because if not, we're opening up that door of saying that they dictate who you are. And why would you give somebody who doesn't respect you, like you, or want to pay you the power to dictate who you are?
I just can't.
Yep. Yeah.
I feel like I went through that same process just with me coming to the just me coming to the journey of wanting to get locks and then actually wearing them. I think a big part of that was nerve-wracking because I didn't know how I was going to be accepted at work. And that was a scary, scary part. Even if different jobs, not even working at an institution, just everyday life, even if I was working at Starbucks or even if I was working at a high school, I was still very scared of what's going to be the reaction. Like, is that going to be an automatic ding on my resume, on my application when you see me in person? Not only because you see me that I'm a Black woman, but also because I have locks in my hair.
Right.
That I even have to question that because this is just a way for me to wear my hair as a protective style that works for me. So why should that even be an issue or a topic on the table at all? But every interview I had at the time when I first got them, I was extremely traumatized. I think for 2 of them, I had a wig on because I was like, I can't do this. I don't even know what's going on. And even I thought about wearing a head wrap and I was like, too ethnic. It's too ethnic for them. I don't think they're ready for that. So I was like, we're just gonna have to do the locks. They're gonna have to deal with it. But it was very scary walking into situations like that. But I'm like, at the end of the day, this is me. And I was scared about my septum piercing too. I had my piercing at the time as well. And I think I had like orange nails and I was really scared. I was like, I can literally not be hired because of my orange nails, because of my locks and my septum piercing and a combination. But I was like, at the end of the day, this is what it is. There's no money right now to change any of that. And why should I have to? So you're going to have to deal with it at the end of the day. Just deal with it. You're going to see my credentials. You're going to see the work I've done. You're going to either like it, you're going to like my personality and go with me or not.
Right.
I'm going to say the same.
Right.
But I just got to that point when I was 27.
Right.
Still struggle with that. So
right.
And that's a big thing for me, kind of what you just said of like, you just got through a lesson, right? Like at 27, we're obviously the same age. So we're 28 now also, by the way. Just in case you forgot, because I do forget for like the first half of the year.
Same, all the time.
But something that I constantly tell my students, especially, since I started being the advisor of the board that I work with, I don't think anybody realized it, probably not even myself, but we went from having majority boards of white students to majority students of color. Like my board as of 2 years ago, I still remember the dean walking into the meeting or their retreat, and he like walked in and he was like shocked, and he looked around the room and he was like, wow, this board. I was just like, yeah, these are your students. Like they're here.
Right.
But he had never seen 20 of them in the highest leadership positions that there are on campus. And I am often extremely humbled and validated when I hear students that talk about that they pursue some of these positions because they want to work with me or under me, or because in whatever way, I shoulder tap them into the position, and it meant for them to hear that the advisor thought they could do this position, right? Like that is so meaningful. And so then I often take those lessons with me and I tell them, like, you're 19 years, 20 years old, learn these now. Like, let me tell you right now, don't be me at 28, still trying to navigate through some of these things that we know carry on in the workplace. Like these things don't leave once you're no longer a student. And so that really resonates with me. And I think the other piece that resonates with me too is the way in which I think, particularly when you work with students, that they can tell, like they know when you're being you, and then they know when like you're navigating something. And I very early in my career, especially when I transitioned from grad intern to full-time staff, you could tell when I had a meeting because I was dressed up. Like whenever I had a meeting, I had, like either dress pants or whatever the fanciest outfit that I could find. And that's what I would wear. And when I wasn't, I was jeans and t-shirt. It's always a school t-shirt, but nevertheless, an event t-shirt or some department t-shirt, university t-shirt, whatever it was. And I felt this like conflicting messaging of like, I feel great when I show up in that way. My students can tell that I'm comfortable. And, I'm constantly like invalidated in certain spaces, right? So I'm in a meeting and people are like wondering who I am, or if I'm the student rep or whatever. And for me, having this battle of like, I want to establish myself as a professional, but I also don't want to do it at the expense of like showing up as a completely different person. Like I am uncomfortable in traditionally professional clothing. It's not made for bigger people. That, you know, you get the little thigh thing, you get the little, it's just not fun. It's not comfortable. So if I got my pair of jeans that I know fits me well and my t-shirt that I know makes me feel comfortable, like that's what I want to show up in. But then I have to deal with, right, the backlash of that. And it's, you know, people coming to my office and barging in and talking to me some type of way. Like, that's my name outside. Like,
Right.
that's my name. You know, straight after grad school, I started leading a whole department. And I was a staff of one, so I was leading myself. And so having to deal with people in that way, and really my message has remained consistent to my students now, that I feel like I've been a little bit more, I mean, the pandemic helped, but I'm a little bit more like, no, I'm going to wear a hoodie on this call. And it doesn't change the quality of what I contribute to the space or what I contribute to the conversation. It doesn't diminish my skills. Actually, it makes me perform better because I'm comfortable. So I might crank out this little project a lot quicker than if you were forcing me to sit with a button up and being all like tight. Like, no.
You know, it's so I was on a radio show yesterday, and there was all this talk, of course, off air, right? There was all this talk on the judgment, right? The internal judgment, and then the social, and then the unspoken judgment. That's the worst. The unspoken judgment that is all based on somebody one day making it up, right? They made it up, they put it in writing, and then we were born later and thought that this to be like true in fact. But all that really happened is that somebody made it up who had more power than us and made it something that's now a social class or social expectation. And then boom, we think such is life. And one of those things, first of all, the entire world, right, is made up, right? But when we think about clothing and the pressure we put on each other for something as simple as clothing, right, to determine if you should live somewhere, if you should work somewhere, if you should have certain things, if you can eat at a restaurant, if you can go to a club, if you're smart, something as simple as clothing, or something as innate as hair, right? We've figured out a way to classify what is and what is not and demonize people. And then we then have someone that puts a price on those things and say, depending on what I feel you should have and the quality to which you should have it, is going to determine whether or not I should respect you. But it's all based on somebody making it up, right? And it takes somebody to think critically to say, why do I think that someone is less competent in jeans? Are you kidding me? In jeans. You're the same person I was in school with. You're the same person I'm at work with. You're the same person that I see every day. But all of a sudden, when you're in jeans,
right,
like, I don't know you. I can't even recognize you. I literally can't even recognize you. And it's wild. Or if I put you in a blazer, wow, you look smarter today. Wow. You know?
right.
Wow.
Like the magic behind a turtleneck. The magic behind a turtleneck.
Right. Or like, I remember you, Gabby, had talked about a time that someone told you look smarter in glasses, right?
Yeah.
Glasses, right? I'm trying to clear my vision, right? And you're telling me now I look smart.
Right. I'm trying to see these steps I'm going down.
I'm not tripping down these steps, and you're now confidently aware that I'm smart. What? It's really ridiculous, and it really takes that critical thinking. And through this pandemic, for folks that worked at home or started businesses online, like you fabulous folks, you start to realize, I'm just happy that you got clothes on. I could why?
That's true.
Like, and to be honest, I don't even know what's going down past your shoulders. So why? But it didn't stop this conversation. It didn't stop this meeting, and work is still getting done. And for some folks, they're more efficient. So why did it matter? Why did all of those things matter when I can't even see? I can't even see any of it. And don't let me put this virtual background on. Now you really don't know what's going on around.
John Cena can't see me. You don't even know.
Can't see me.
Oh my goodness. I think one thought that came to mind, I'm trying not to lose it. So Maria, if you have something, go. I'm losing it. Okay. I'm losing it.
No. I think just to kind of tie off almost what you were saying was I was actually in one of the meetings I had last week, and I guess one of the people that I was on the call with had a virtual background, but they took it off before the meeting was over, and literally their kids were like running rapid in the back, like because their background is the kitchen, and it was so funny. Like she was on mute, but it was just a really funny reality to show you like. And like, their background's all foresty, all nice and calm, and they're just, they're very interactive in the conversation we're having, great dialogue, yada, yada. But as soon as that virtual background went off, it's like 2-3 kids running around, trying to grab stuff from the refrigerator, trying to get a drink. We were like, and then, they told us they had to go, but it was just like a reality check. Like, you really don't know what's going on the outside of the camera, but they're doing their job amazingly. So why is it, there shouldn't even be an issue about it, but it was just so funny to have a reality check. Like, there's a lot going on behind the camera, folks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
So my thought came back to me, and it had to do with clothing, but in interview settings. And I remember, I mean, I've always had it in my head of, I had a grad school professor. He taught us, or he was supposed to teach us, organization and leadership, our O&L class. And the first day of class, he was like, yeah, that's what I say on the syllabus. I'm just going to teach you how to infiltrate. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I always have that in mind, right? The idea of infiltrating and disrupting. And it made me think of this story. When I was a grad intern, I've helped a lot with a lot of interviews, but I was helping with the interviewing for peer mentor positions, which y'all may be familiar with, right? Upperclassmen students, sophomore through seniors who mentor first year students. Student position, and I was in the committee with older white women that came from like the academic affairs side and valued a lot and upheld a lot of like traditional forms of professionalism. One of them being what you wear to an interview. And these are student interviews, right? So we had a nursing student that interviewed in scrubs. Mind you, these are university branded scrubs, has it has the university logo, and they're clearly a nursing student. We, at least those of us who work with students, all know that our students are in clinicals either from like 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. or from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. She clearly was going to go to clinicals right after this interview. Like, it's just a part of the culture of the school. And you know those things when you work with students.
Right.
And so because they were kind of going around in circles, then one of them decides to say, well, she did come in scrubs. Like, I don't think that really shows that, like, she cares for the position. Like, you're just going to show up in, like, your scrubs. And I'm like, are you, like... Right. A nursing student in the university branded scrubs the morning before she's going off for clinicals, which we all, again, when you work with students, you just know what that means for them. They do nothing that day. They have nothing. So the fact that she squeezed in that interview, of course she's going to wear scrubs. And again, she was wearing scrubs. Like, it wasn't even anything. And they did not want to hire her because of that. They didn't want to hire her because she had 3 jobs, and they did not want to hire her because she showed up to the interview in scrubs. And I had to tell them, like, I mean, is it really fair to say that when would you quit your job before you get another one? Like, that makes no sense. Like, there's the rationales that they were making it, and that at the end, they were like, well, let's just throw it on the scrubs then. Like, I guess the other one didn't work because I wasn't budging on the job thing. They're like, well, let's just throw it on the scrubs thing. And I'm like, oh. All right, well.
It's interesting to me too, because when folks say, make sure you dress professionally, they completely forget that there are more jobs in this lifetime that doesn't involve sitting behind a desk. And to me, it really cracks me up. And half of the things that we purchase, buy, like, tune into, doesn't involve a desk. I mean, just think about let's say if I'm going to purchase clothing, that doesn't involve a desk, right? If I'm going to grab something to drink or eat, that doesn't involve a desk, and that's still professional. If I'm grabbing gas, if I'm getting my hair done, if I'm doing self-care or maintenance, that doesn't involve a desk. If I'm building a house, a building, that doesn't involve a desk. If I'm performing surgery on you, that doesn't require a desk. And so this idea of like, you have to dress professionally. And when they say that, they only mean in the interview. People don't even care once you actually get the job.
Exactly.
So it's like,
don't give a damn.
They don't. So there's all this pressure. So when you meet me in this interview, I have to be visually pleasing to you. When in reality, it's like, who are you for me to be visually pleasing to? And what is this definition of visual pleasing? You know, it's complete nonsense. It really is complete nonsense. It really is.
I did want to definitely get into the big chunk of the situation here about monetizing our gifts. First of all, even recognizing what that looks like, because you know, some people might not even know what their gifts are or feel like they have too many. I know a previous conversation me and Gabby had was like talking about how we have so many that we want to conquer, and then kind of feeling like overwhelmed and then be like, forget it, I'll just stick with what I have right now.
Right. Right.
I'm just gonna do my job then.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do what I know. This is safe. This is what I know. This is what it's good. But yeah, I definitely want to get in that conversation with you, Melissa. So, you know, just wherever you feel it's a good way to start, you know, just take it away, okay? Because you have the keys. You have the keys.
I could actually talk about this all day, but for the sake of this podcast, I'm gonna keep it light to the best of my abilities, because this is one of the things that I absolutely love talking about. Because in our lifetime, and you have to give it up, at least in the world that we share, we have to give it up to our living ancestors, our families that raised us, and whatever family version of family you have, that gave us the resiliency tool, right? This is how you survive in the space that I know to be true in my ability to raise you and rear you. This is what has worked in my time. So these are the tools that I know how to share, right? But as you very well know, the world is changing ever so fastly. And in our lifetime, it's changing like every minute. In this moment, there's a new platform created right now. There's a new job created. Something's ending, something's being created. And we forget to tell people that it's not about when you grow up, who do you want to work for? That's not the question, right? The question is, as you begin to see the world for yourself, and as you begin to find truth for yourself, what do you feel like you have to contribute to the world? And how can we monetize that contribution? It's not about having one gift, because that's where the pressure is, right? And people know that to be that question of, what's your passion? It's like, girl, I got eight right now. Yesterday, it was something else, you know? Like, I have a lot of passions, and my passions will change and grow as I get older, right? Because as you get older, you start to see new things, experience new things, and, you know, just genetically, you need new things. But what do you feel is your sense of contribution to the world, and how can we monetize it for what you need now, right? And then over time, you recognize, can that contribution evolve, or does it need to shift? And people don't talk about that, because we put this pressure of fitting into a box in a system, and hopefully somebody will pay you in the system, instead of saying, what is something you have that only you have? You know you have it. And how do we get you paid, right? And we wrap that around society with, well, you don't want to be broke in retirement, so forget all that contribution stuff and go get a state job, right? But then I had a really beautiful mentor that was so excited to retire, had worked for this system for over 30 years and died before retirement age, right? And so this prep for retirement, they didn't even get a chance to take advantage of. And they were 3 years out from retirement when they passed, and their retirement was looking real good. And all of it went to an estate, right? That gets passed down, and they didn't have children. So it's like all of that working, the countless after 5 working, the no taking days off, no vacations, no sick times, right? This coming early, staying late, this doing above and beyond, not respecting boundaries, not checking in with our body, not asking myself, am I getting paid my worth for exactly what I bring to this system? None of that happened because that was supposed to happen after retirement.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, again, if we even get to age, because aging is a blessing. Not everybody gets a chance to age. So I'm over here prepping for retirement with no guarantee that I'll get to retire. And we don't talk about it enough. And so we live in fear this entire time, hoping that when this sense of security closes, then we get to tap into these things. We don't know what our abilities will look like, right? We don't know what our traveling capabilities will be. And so how do you find your contribution? It's just thinking about what are some things that only I can give. And there's no right or wrong, right? There's no smart or unsmart. There's none of that. It's what are some things that I know that only I can give? And how do I monetize that? Mm-hmm. And in this world and in this lifetime, monetizing is one of the easiest things to do. It wasn't as easy 20 years ago, but you can get paid off of creating a mug, right? I could put that on social media, have a mug page. Now it's lit, So I think people need to have to start thinking like that. Like, it's not about where do I fit? It's about what fits within me, right? What do I have to contribute that makes me feel good, where I know that I can thrive, regardless of what people say about it or me.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, two things just to touch on everything you're saying, because once again, just giving life so many gems, everything. I'm energized from what you're saying. But one thing was this, I keep forgetting the creator's name, but me and my best friend crack up about it all the time because he literally made a TikTok talking about how he just needed an iPad. He just felt like once he has an iPad, his life will begin. He'll start making everything. Because he said he made like chocolate dip strawberries and put design on them. He took a picture of it. He was like, I'm a baker now. I'm a baker. And then he got an iPad, and then literally the first thing he did on his iPad was make a little flyer talking about whatever's their name treats. Like, come get your treats here. He was like, see, I have my iPad now, so I'm in business. Check me out. They're like, check me out on Etsy, check me out on Instagram next week. Like, he was joking, but it was so funny because he was like, once I have my iPad. But it was so true. But two, I was gonna say about how just how we grow up in our families, our different versions of families we have, that I feel like for me, when I was first growing up, when I was younger, around like 9, when I people start asking you, what do you want to do when you grow up? What do you want to do? And for me, I wanted to be this dancer, basketball player, therapist, photographer combo. Right. Like, that's all I knew. And at that time, everyone's, go for it, do whatever.
Right.
But as you get older, once you get into like middle school, high school, and so forth, they're like, okay, so come back to reality.
Exactly.
What's going to give you a check? What's going to give you a 401k? What's going to give you a retirement plan? Because all that's not going to work. You have to choose one and go with one. So even if I still had these big dreams of doing, 4 or 5 different occupations, everyone's like, you need to choose one and go with it. Mm-hmm. But that's only what they've been taught. That's all they know. So it's like, you kind of get frustrated looking back, like, I really could have been doing more potentially at this age because I wasn't really supported in that way. But it's also like, they're only can provide you with all they know. And times do change very fast, especially in this day and age. So now I can really go back and do it all right now.
Yep.
Do I want to? I don't know about basketball because I like it. But I could play in my leisure time, recreational. Who knows? But I definitely wanted to say, like, I totally agree. It's
yeah.
And I believe like family pressures definitely like heavily influence, I think, how you end up perceiving your talents and your skills. And I've talked a little bit before about like sort of the like culture in my family where like I don't have memories of ever sitting with my mom talking about things that I was passionate about or things that I wanted to do, because I think I know that my stepdad was somebody that believed in just working. He didn't believe in an education. He believed in a profession and something that paid you. And my mom has just always supported whatever I've wanted to do. And I've known that like, if it was her choice, I would have not done everything that I've done. Right. I think if I remember correctly, the goal that she wanted for me was like a lawyer or something, but she also didn't like shove it down my throat. I think she just, without intending to, invalidated some of the feelings of the things that I did want to do. I do remember telling her one time that I wanted to be a hairstylist. I loved hair, and I was like, I would love to be a hairstylist. And
Gabby can do some hair, okay? And
and
she's done my pledge daughter's hair before we went out before it. So
mhm.
cute, popping all the time, okay?
I get so much pressure because I'm like, I know how to do mine. I'm always
She does
like
other
with
people's as well
makeup,
too.
like with makeup and stuff. They're like, oh, like your makeup. I'm like, yeah, but I know how to do it for my eyes. But that's another topic. I'll just never forget. I told my mom like, oh yeah, like I want to be a hairstylist. Like I'd love to be a hairstylist. And I don't think that I told her what I really meant. Like I really meant like a fashion hairstylist or celebrity hairstylist, like out of
Mhm.
the big, fancy people hair. And she was just like, do you know how many hairstylists there are? Like, do you know how many hair salons there are? Like, and she put that this grain in me of like, is that something, as you mentioned, right, that's going to be sustainable, that I'm going to be able to make money off of, that I'm going to be able to be stable? And I think that wasn't coming from like, it was coming from the fact that I know my mom has always wanted us to have more. She's
Yeah.
always wanted us to be able to give ourselves, in her words, which are hurtful sometimes, but she couldn't give us. And I've never wanted her to feel that way. So I just remember being like, she's right. There's so many hairstylists. And I never thought about that again, ever. Like, it was just like, it just became, a thing. And from there, I feel like what I started doing, and it maybe what started the culture that I've created for myself of not really sharing what I want to do, and
Right.
just kind of silently and quietly and alone making decisions for my future. And now I'm happy where I've ended, but I have all of these feelings of like, I would have loved to be a writer. I would have loved to be a journalist. I would have loved to be a graphic designer. I would have loved to be certain things come my way from work. And I was like, wait, I want to do that because like in another life, I would have loved to be like designing flyers for people. I don't know. It's just those pieces start coming to light. But I think we all get tricked by this idea that at some point we have to make a decision. And
Mhm.
once we make that decision, that's it. And especially when you're like me, when you just go through higher education because you're too afraid of the real world. Right after undergrad, I was like, well, I'm just going to pick a program and go to grad school because it buys me 2 years and I don't have to pay my loans and we're just going to keep it going.
Mhm.
And this year has been the year that I've realized, okay, there's plenty of time left. Like there's plenty of time left, and there's no rule that tells me that I have to be in higher education for the rest of my life. And there's a part of me that probably wants to, and there's a part of me that knew that I never wanted to be higher than a director. It was a little unfortunate. I got the assistant director right away, so I'm like, wait, y'all caught my time. I wanted to be here for longer to reach a certain goal, right? But again, that taught me of like, well, look at that, right? I had set for myself that I was going to be in higher ed and go as high as a director and then figure something else from there. But your
Mhm.
trajectory can change so quickly. And now it's like, was it really about wanting to be a director? Was it about the work? Like, what was it about? And with the way that social media has changed and everything, entrepreneurship has changed, platforms have evolved, it's becoming a little bit more encouraging, I think,
Mhm.
to remember that like there's time. There's plenty of time,
Mhm.
There's just so many more years to still make more decisions and make more pivots and more changes. And I think having the podcast was one of them for me, because this idea of wanting to just like have a platform and share a message has one that I've wanted to do through everything. At some point I wanted to be like a journalist, but like not like gossip journalist, like news journalist. And I'm like, there's an impact with that. Like there's just so many things that I'm like, it was always the common thread was that whatever I wanted to do, it was always about a message, like
Mhm.
being able to send a message. So when podcasts and the podcast idea came out, I'm like, well, there's time. Like there's time,
Mhm.
right? Like we have time to do that. But I see it in the work with my students that they feel pressure to make decisions too. They feel pressure to also figure out what are they going to do with their talents and their gifts. And it's a little bit of it's a responsibility, I think, for me to remind them like there's
Well,
time.
the challenge is that people feel like you have to close one thing before you start another. That's where
Yes.
the pressure comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not true, right? And all people also make decisions based on this near idea of what they know to be true, right? Because we don't do enough to share all the ways in which you can do the things that you love. So if let's say I'm a student and you're telling me I need to make a decision, I'm thinking that this one decision is a life determinant, right? When in reality, it's like, no, you just need to make a decision regarding this one small thing. Everything else can still exist while this one decision is being made. And that is some of the mismessaging that goes out there, right? If I decide, oh my gosh, I want to be, for lack of better words, I'll just give my story, for example, right? My sister knows this very well. I remember in high school saying I want to be a dancing politician, and everybody laughed. And I was like, I don't get it. Like, that's what I want to do. I'm like 16 and I said this. And people, based on their understanding of what a job was like, it doesn't exist. But instead of saying like, okay, Melissa, I don't even know what that version means to you, and that's the only verbiage you know to be true in this moment. Instead of saying, let me help you get to this place, and through exposure, you help to redefine and restate what it is, it was, the automatic was, that can't be. Or it's too competitive, it's too saturated. You have to decide to be a dancer or a politician, right? And when I look at my life today, I am a dancing politician. I'm an entertainer and an activist, right? I entertain, but I'm huge in social justice and making sure access and ability is thought about when things are being created. But at the time, they can only imagine that in this little box of what they knew to be true, right? And I am taking into account my skills, my abilities, the way in which I was going to navigate the world, the decisions I was going to make to open up the lane for myself. The other thing they gave me that they didn't give me was the ability for me to think about a world that was different from what I knew, right? And a lot of our friends and family will do that. They'll say, at this time in 2021, whatever you're trying to do does not exist. So now it therefore can't happen. But I don't know about y'all, phones change every 2 months. So reality, it's like, you know what, it may not be true for me and in my lifetime, but it doesn't mean that it can't be true in your lifetime. And instead of me downplaying it, knocking it, making you feel stupid for thinking that, let me empower you and invest and do my own research. Since I say I am a supporter, a friend, a family member, an advocate, let me do my research in advocating that. And so for you, yeah, you are a hairstylist. You are, right? You do your own
I'm
hair.
trying to tell her.
Your
Please tell her.
It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have this title in the form of a trade or a job. And that's the other thing too, right? Maria, you are a dancer, period. You've been a dancer. Gabby, you've been a hairstylist. You've been a makeup artist. You've been a celebrity. You're a celebrity. So you're a celebrity makeup artist, right? You have to affirm yourself. You have to affirm it yourself. And we have to stop waiting for people to tell us, right? You have to affirm it yourself. For myself, I am a dancing politician. You have many things that I've helped create on the basis of me just being me that is now institutionalized in so many different systems, jobs, policies, awareness, performances, platforms, based on me advocating for it because I knew it to be true, regardless if the world didn't think so. So yes, I am a dancing politician. You have to say it yourself. And sometimes that's outside of what your family tells you too, right?
Because I feel like just to touch on that too, because I was just trying to speak life into a friend yesterday about this, is that they kept saying like, oh, they wanted to go into a particular field like photography. And they're like, well, I need to go to school for that. And I said, who said that?
Right.
Who told you need to go to school for that? I said, not only have there been so many different people have gone on different platforms like YouTube, have different training classes where you can actually buy classes and do them at home. Who said you had to do? I mean, you're like, you're not going into something like nursing and a medical field, engineering, things like that, where you actually should get some extra training, like assessments, things of that sort. You're not doing that. You're literally going to a freelance field where it's all perspective and objective in your own mind frame. So why are we letting some assessment test that someone made up and a degree program that they made up to tell you that you're something that you've been this whole time?
Because that's really what
photo shoots.
Right. That's what school is, right? You like something and you want to get better at it while also meeting other people and becoming a better advocate for yourself. That's what this schooling is. It's not to affirm you because you already have this, right? When you choose a major, it's because it fits within what you already are interested in, except for those folks that feel the pressures of family choosing a major. And that was me. So I'll be honest. But there, when you go look on a list of things to do, it's like, oh, that's exciting. You want to know why it's exciting? Because that's a part of your alignment. right? And you already have this. And now you're going to go see what else is out there that fits in this. But there's just not enough conversation about what do you already know to be true.
I have two questions for you, just to really just bring it home, bring it home. So I can definitely say them again if needed, because I feel like you're just gonna give so many gems at them, of course. So the first one is, let's say there's a person that kind of has an idea of what gifts they want to go ahead and try to pursue. How would they go about monetizing them? What would that kind of look like?
Yep. So the first thing is, have you given your talent, skill, and ability a name? If you don't name it and own it, you can't monetize it, right? Because to get to monetizing, you have to believe in it. In order to believe in it, you have to birth it. And if you haven't done that, right, say it out loud, written it out, give it its own life, then we can't even get to funding it. But if you have done all those steps, let's say, again, mug, shout out to the mug making business, right?
Yeah.
Remember, somebody made a mug one day and was like, I'm going to sit and now it's an industry. This is what I'm saying. Like, you have
whole industry.
You have to be true to your gifts. So I create this thing. I realize it's functional. I name it mug. Now I'm going to test it out. So I'm going to put it on the free platforms that I know to be true. So Instagram, that's like that's a rite of passage now. If you have anything,
Right.
you make an Instagram. And then you make your email, right? If you're a Gmailer, if you're a Yahooer, totally up to you. Then you make it, right? You've given it life. Then from there, you put a price on it. And people usually get nervous about this because they're like, then it goes in that disbelief, right? Who's going to pay for this? You've already killed the dream, right? You just birthed it, but now you're dead at it, right? But you have to move forward. So I'm going to price it out, right? You could do your research on it, or you could just be like, you know what? I would pay $10. Now the mug is $10. Boom. $10 on Instagram, right? The first transaction lets you know it works. The first transaction lets you know it works. And once it works, it's now up to you to see, is this something I want to continue? Or is this something that I was just testing? And that's why I think when people also feel pressure, like, well, now I'm a mug maker. Shoot. now I gotta make mugs for the rest of my life. You don't. You could just have made that one mug to see if it worked, and it did, and pass that along, right? Now, even if the idea of the mug goes away, you've now verified that this concept of creating something on a platform that you birthed, right, and put a price on it is now something that actually is working. So I can change that to sanitizer, to clothes, to photos, to hair, to makeup, to lashes, to overalls, to earrings, to a podcast. I could change it to whatever, because I realize that I myself am able to create a transaction, right? The other thing that people feel pressured about is, how am I going to make a life off of this? You're doing a lot too fast, right? You don't have to worry about making this full-fledged life off of this one thing, because you're, as a creator and as someone that has the ability to create, you're going to create a lot of things. Your job is to continue making money off of the things that you create. And over time, if you want, because you have full agency over that, you can make a livelihood for yourselves. But it doesn't have to be, I'm a mug maker for life. That's all you're going to ever know me for. I'm going to make mugs and die. It doesn't have to be that. But I think those are the levels of pressures that people go through. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'll give you another example. I'm currently in pre-production for a documentary, right? I met with all these folks in the film industry, pubbing my film, and they're like, don't sell it to the big ones, because then they'll take your credit from you. But in reality, I don't have to just be a filmmaker, right? If I want to sell it to an industry that's going to give me a check that I've never had that many zeros, and invest that or do something myself, I could do that and just make one movie and bounce, right? You don't have to just do one thing. You can do a bunch of different things. We're human beings with creative spirits. We're meant to do a lot of things. And so I would tell your friend, whoever that is, try it. Try it. Take it literally step by step and try it. And if it fails, guess what? You learned a system and you learned what it takes to make a transaction. Now, if you don't have a mug business, close the mug business, but keep the skills of being able to make a transaction. Keep that. right? That's what you learn. That's the lesson.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure they listen to the episode because
Yeah, friend, wherever you are, friend, listen to this, friend, wherever you are.
Because I that was one thing I've always realized with like I've gone with my I guess work career. I've done like multiple jobs that are like across the board. They're wild, right? But for some reason, I always find a connection from the previous job. Things I did at a coffee shop, I'm applying it to a job at an institution. Things that I've learned in my ASL classes, I'm applying at a high school. Like everything comes together. And I think that people forget that it's like just because you're in a certain field doesn't mean the skills you're learning, the techniques you're learning cannot be applied into another area of life. Just life in general.
Correct.
In general. But the second question would be to what would be some advice, just going back on the topic of authenticity. Wow, if I can say that 2 times fast, wow. What are, do you have like maybe 2 or 3 things you'd want to give advice to those that are trying to come to that, you know, area of being comfortable with themselves in all aspects or in the workplace particularly?
Yep. For anyone that's struggling with how do I show up as myself in a way that makes me feel like I'm not selling out, I want you to think about what would you tell a little family member that was exploring their identity, right? That's your 6-year-old niece that is questioning things, right? That empowering statement you would give them, you need to ask yourself, why aren't you taking that in yourself, right? When we're like, wear what you want, rock that. Don't care what they say. Wear that blazer or wear those shoes or buy the, you know how we're so good at hyping other people up. We're so good at that. But when the lights are off and we're by ourselves in our own thoughts, that's when all of that is so opposite. You need to ask yourself, why are you so quick at affirming somebody else and you can't do that for yourself? Right? You need to ask yourself that because that goes back to your belief about yourself and your abilities. And so for anyone out there that's struggling with authenticity, I need you to remember, you can't be out here spewing this advice for our youth, for our friends and family, and not be walking it yourself. You cannot. The other thing is, in a time where the world, and I say the world because BIPOC folk been about it. So that in a time when the world is now listening and open to creating change in spaces where BIPOC have been, oh my God, stifled, suffocated, frustrated. Do you really want to sit and be a part of the reason why things are not moving faster? Do you really want to be that person that lives with regret and said, I should have spoke up? I should have said something. I should have written something. Do you want to say, now it's time to use my agency in a way that makes me feel powerful and safe and own my piece in making history that much better? And that's what's woken me up. It's woken me up, right? I told you 33. At 33, I have the ability and the access to make history in the ways that are around me. I don't want to miss out on that opportunity, right? The one thing you can't get back is time. I don't want to be at a meeting and miss out on the opportunity to correct somebody or bring in perspective or say something or create something that's going to help liberate the future, or hell, liberate me, or hell, liberate my parents. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't want to miss out on that opportunity because history is happening in real time. And if we're just waiting for the next person to say something, imagine what people are waiting on us. They're going to be like, why didn't you do something? Why didn't you say something? You were waiting on me. I was waiting on you. And I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity. I'm not.
Yeah. I think that there's no better way to wrap everything up than that. Those main points and those main lessons. I think what you said about how we affirm others versus how we affirm ourselves has been a trend in my recent reflections. And even reflecting in itself, literally one of the values of the institution that I work at is reflection. I reflect after every session, and I don't sit with myself very often to do the same. But that's my challenge to myself, because I do believe, we touched on this in a I think in an episode we haven't released, that it is beautiful to see the young, like, queer BIPOC community, like on TikTok or whatever, just being so authentic and so real and so in tune with their identity at 16, at 18, at
Middle school.
19, middle
Yeah.
schooler, you know, middle schoolers who are just so comfortable really embracing their authenticity in ways in which I think were not imaginable for us
Right.
when we were then. And it's almost, yeah, it feels like a weird or it felt, before hearing your words, like a weird place to be in generationally, where like you kind of were told at first to like be happy with the change, and you know, and studied and learned a lot about the change and how things were better and that there was still some work to do, but like nothing's really happening, to then just seeing so much momentum and almost feeling like, are we a part of it? Are we outside of it? Are we in it? Like, where did we fall, right? Like, do we just pass it on? And what you said also woke me up, of like, we can't miss the opportunities to make change when we have access to do so, big or small. And I was telling my partner this recently. A lot of the times I find myself disappointed with what I do, because I was that little kid that said, when what do you want to do? I wanted to change the world.
Right.
Right? Like, that was my answer.
Right.
I've always wanted to change the world. And I heard myself stop saying that. When people would ask me, I heard myself no longer say, I think I can change the world. Like, I think I can find something that I like to do. Right? And how that narrative changes. You know, there's just no other way to put it than the way that you've done for us, of you have what you need within you. It is a process to recognize it.
Yeah.
But also, in some ways, it's also a responsibility to not miss those opportunities to create change, especially once, you know, in some ways, we've climbed up to certain spaces, certain areas, and certain levels that we either didn't expect to be, or that they didn't expect us to be in. It's like, okay, well, now we're gonna do it, and the bigger lesson of, you can't just do it for others, because I do that for others all the time.
Oh, it's
And then
easy.
I think, right, I think I'm like, but not for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super easy. And I'll never forget, I went to this really dope conference called Creating Change. I don't know if y'all have heard of it, but it is like the international it's the International Queer and Trans Conference for Folks of Color. And I remember they weren't afraid, and shout out to Kid Fury and Crystal on the read. They always say, I'm not afraid to clear it. Like, I'm not afraid to show up, clear the room, and handle it, right? And it's an act of bravery to do that. But I remember at the conference, I went to the Black Identified Caucus, and they weren't afraid to shake some shit up at the conference, like disrupt the conference structure, create their own session, and then call shit out at the conference in real time, not in the evaluation, not in the debrief, right? In real time, and clear it. And I was like, God, where would we be without Black trans folks calling shit out? And I just remember being like, I need to do better. There's many times in many spaces where I could have said something and I left work frustrated. I left a meeting frustrated and vented to a friend, homie,
Right.
college partner, talking about how I shoulda, coulda, woulda, what I wanted to, instead of being about that life in that moment, right there, course correcting history right there. And I said, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be vulnerable, because I know that I have to make space for someone that's coming after me. I have to, because that microaggression, that racist oppression that folks face in these different spaces, like, that shit is so played out and tired. But it takes someone like me in my agency right now to show up and be like, hey, I'm gonna wear this headscarf. What's up with it? What's wrong with it? I'm going to rock these jeans. What's wrong with it? What's up? Like, really right there in that moment, and be ready to call it out from tone, behavior, email verbiage, all that. Call it out right there, right? And own that you know what you're talking about, and own it. It's time. And it's time for, and I've been putting, it's time for me. me, because I buffer it with this time for us, but that excludes my accountability in the movement towards a radical new world. It's time for me to show up, right? It's time for me to say something. I must, and own those words. That's how you get to this place of being comfortable in who you are, right? Because no one can shake you, right? And you're comfortable with being in space where people don't like you. And I remember seeing this post that said, why are you trying to be liked by everybody? You don't even like everybody. And I'm like,
that's so real.
So why do I care if they like me if I don't really like them?
Facts
Right?
were stated. All facts were stated.
No lies detected here.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's, I mean, I think we all know that we can keep going, but we've
Yeah.
already gone past the time we told our guests. So as usual, we're just gonna have to stop ourselves here. But I think you left us with so many gems, and the last one that I want to reiterate is the self-accountability piece, right? And to our listeners, this piece of like, you may have just woken up too. You know, Melissa may have just hit you just like she hit us and woken you up. And that's great, because some of us just needed that extra validation, or the remembering that we know people who do this and who are doing this and who are doing it successfully, and who are doing it while also willing to help others through getting through that journey, which is, you know, what Melissa being here also means. You know, she's dropping the knowledge for all of us, but also this piece of like, we may have allies listening, and y'all already know what to do. We've told you every episode.
Right.
If the stories you're hearing don't apply to you, then you're on the other side, and that's a responsibility as well. And that's something that we hope and that we appreciate, that by listening to our podcast, you know, folks are either feeling the validation and the community and the support, and the fact that it's an experience that we share at multiple levels through multiple different systems, but also the call to allies to remember that they have an impact too, and how we navigate all of those spaces, and that they can also influence how we are received and accepted in those spaces as well, through what they do with their privilege. And then the third piece is also the then responsibility that we have once we've become our authentic selves and accept our gifts, to also pass that on, and to also continue to motivate and inspire and uplift the youth, the younger generations. You know, whether they are, I think the context you gave is helpful, right? Think about this as like your younger niece or your younger sibling, and how you would provide that advice, and then just do that to everybody, right? To everybody that is deserving of it and that needs it. And as somebody who works with students all the time, like, that message is clicking. I tell my students things all the time, but I want them to be able to see it as well. So I'm being challenged. I'm also so empowered and so motivated to just really accept myself and my gifts and what I do and what I have to contribute to the world. And then making the choice of doing it, and of not missing those opportunities. I think that there's no other way to close it than to take those opportunities. Again, I feel like I could go into another segue, but let me stop. We're gonna leave it there. Melissa's time went by so fast. I looked up and I was like,
I know.
Time this happens, but gem after gem, it's been, you know, so nice to connect, I think, in this way too, because I don't think we've ever just like picked a topic and talked about it, but this is beyond what we expected and what we really were hoping to share with our listeners. I think to wrap it up, any closing thoughts you may have, and also if you could let our listeners know, remind them of what you do, how they can connect with you, how they can stay in touch with your work.
Yeah. So again, thank y'all for having me on this platform. It has been a pleasure. On Instagram, I am at Muganzo Entertainment. That's Muganzo Entertainment. And if you forget anything that I said, just go check out Gabby and Maria, and they'll probably tag me, and then you'll get to my page. So it all worked out.
just check our post. She comments the fire emoji under every single one of them.
Number one commenter
Number
right
one
away.
commenter every
Appreciate
time.
it.
every
You
time.
gonna get
Love
this
it.
fire emoji, okay? You
Yes.
gonna get this. On Twitter, it's at Melissa underscore Muganzo, Melissa underscore Muganzo. And you can also find me on LinkedIn too at linkedin.com/Muganzo-Murphy, Muganzo-Murphy. I'm on all three platforms very actively. And my website is www.muganzoentertainment.com, Muganzo entertainment.com. Again, I'm an entertainer, I'm a producer, I'm a host, but most importantly, I am a culture curator, philanthropist, and activist. And all of those things just sum up all the things that I care about and gives me room to evolve and create and make space for folks that need it.
Yes. And a dancing politician.
And a dancing
Don't
politician.
forget
Don't
it.
forget.
Don't forget it. Okay. You're going to get all this activism with the dancing.
With the dance.
Okay.
The veggie dance.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Veg Pro.
The Veg Pros.
Yes. Or what is it? High protein veggie, whatever it was.
High protein veggie dancers.
Oh.
If you know, you know.
You know.
You know, you know. Oh my gosh. Announcement alert. Announcement alert.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie. I thought you were going to say, Becky, look at her butt.
I'm done.
I'm so terrible for thinking that, but I did. I couldn't help it.
Well, we have, besides Becky, look at her butt, we have our first story submission from our listener. So I'm really excited about that. They do want to remain anonymous. So of course, we're going to respect that. But they have their own queer puberty story and we're going to share it. Are you ready?
Yes, I can't wait.
Okay, so the listener says that they were in 6th grade when this first happened. They set the whole scene for us. So they said they had just gotten home from school and they ran to check their MySpace page. So we already know what.
Hey, it took place in MySpace. You know it was good.
Right, okay, right. So they ran home as we did at that time to check their MySpace page and see what their friends, were doing, hitting back at them, whatever. They said, anyways, they have an older brother that was being super nosy right over their shoulder while they're checking their messages. And they got a new message from this girl that said, "Are you les?" Like just that short term question mark. And then they stated they don't know why they were so embarrassed. And they think mostly because their brother was roasting them. But yeah, they said they couldn't blame the girl for wanting them while they were in little 6th grade themselves. And so that's really, really funny. But it's something as simple as that. Like you never really even think about till like later on in life. Like
yeah.
I was thinking now too, just to kind of touch on that story, back in middle school, I had some friends that were openly gay. And I remember one of my friends who was like more mass presenting. I always thought they were so cool. Now I'm thinking about, no, Marie, you thought they were cute.
And you that's exactly what I was going to say.
Just be honest.
Exactly what I was going to say. I always thought like, oh, damn, like they're so confident that they get to wear what they want. Like they don't have to like, they're not forcing themselves to be girly, to do all these things. I was always like super feminine. And like, I enjoy being feminine, but there was just something about it that I'm like, oh, I think that's so cool. Yeah, no. I think it's so hot. That's what it was.
Right. It was hot. It was the feelings inside that were telling me these things I didn't know. But I just want to say thank you to
shout out to our listener.
Yes, because that's really awesome that we have our first one. And then it's a queer puberty story. It's something as simple as that you never even think that until later on when you have this big epiphany and reality check about who you're actually attracted to, that you start rethinking little small instances in your life. You're like, I should have known.
I should have known.
There was hints all throughout my life that got me to this point. So, but we're here now and you're realizing it and you're recognizing it. So thank you for that. And, if you have another queer puberty story or if someone else has a queer puberty story or any other thing, if you want to, tell about a petty party, you want to vent about something, or if it's in your humble opinion about a situation going on in the current events, like definitely feel free to DM us on our Instagram. You can email us. So basically the podcast at gmail.com, also on Twitter. We're everywhere. So yeah, definitely.
I think this gives me an idea, and I'm like, it's based on the listeners, so I'm talking to you all. I think it would be so cool if like we get like comments or stories after each episode, and we just like do them at the next one. and share with
Okay.
them, because it's always the topic before. Because
Yeah.
in our previous episode, although not released yet, we did
Right.
revisit queer puberty. So
Yes.
that episode will be up soon, but now, you know, we have this comment to sort of add to it. So
Yes.
anything that comes up for you, please send that, share that with us. We love reading your DMs, and people who come back and tell us the things that they remember from our episodes. So don't be
Yes.
shy.
Right. Or just be shy with us if you feel
Yeah.
comfortable.
Here's what I'll say. If either one of us makes you shy, you'll never know who's actually looking at the Instagram. So just send it in.
Just send
Just
it
send it in.
in.
Don't
We
be
want to hear
shy.
from all of you.
Yes, yes, we do. Yes, we do. Well, shout out again to our listener, our very first our very first comment story submission. Thank you.
Yes.
Shout out to you. I think it's time for snaps.
Is it time for?
Oh gosh, that was terrible. This episode snaps go to another podcast.
Yes.
And this is Latinx Diaries. Latinx
Yes.
Diaries is a podcast. You can find them like on Anchor, Spotify, all the fun things. You can find them on Instagram at Latinx Diaries, LATINX Diaries. And this podcast it's about navigating relationship dynamics through the perspective and experience of a Latinx woman and her friends. The Latinx woman we're speaking of is none other than our very own soror, Roxy. And Roxy has put out a podcast that's so vulnerable and so real and so, you know, speaking of authenticity, right?
Right.
So raw. And I love it. I found myself, I think I was sharing this. I found myself listening to one of her episodes, and first of all, just bawling. And second of all, just really, really connecting with the fact that for many, many reasons, even those of us who know each other have adopted ways of moving through life without sharing things that we deal with, or without leaning into our support systems or our communities until they kind of wake us up and remind us that they're there and that they're our community. And I just love the way in which she has used Latinx Diaries to share those messages, to share the people in her life and the way in which those people have made a difference for her. It's, you know, she's also has such a soothing voice. And I honestly find myself, when I feel like I need some reflection, some, you know, time with myself, I like to listen to her, because I think her and her guests do a great job at just talking through how to do that. And yeah, I love it so far. I'm so excited for any future episodes that she's putting out. I felt like every guest she's brought, I'm like, I want to be friends with them. You know, like, because again, I think she's doing something similar to us, which is just bringing the people closest to you. And I'm like, they're just so cool because she's so cool. So again, check her out. You can also support her podcast at anchor.fm/Latinx Diaries. So if you're looking for another episode, if you're looking for another podcast, please go check her out. And she has an amazing Instagram page. Posts a lot of resources. So snaps to Latinx Diaries and Roxy.
Once again, just to make sure you remember who you're listening to, where, what, when, how, who. This is So Basically podcast about queer stories, our bond sisterhood, and our blunt, semi-filtered thoughts, because we need to keep our jobs. And Gabby, where can they find us if they want to listen for more? Or see our faces, maybe?
Again, you can find us on Instagram. That is our main hub. Instagram is So Basically _podcast, or on Twitter at _ So Basically Pod. You can also write us at So Basically the podcast @gmail.com, and find us in our individual platforms. We are so grateful that you're still here. It is episode 8. Exciting things are coming. Episode 8. Exciting things are coming. Thank you all for your support. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I'm Governor Logic.
And I'm the Black Maria Show.
And we out.
Out.